I'm going to begin by telling you a little bit about my personal history, how I came to the League, and then I will try to assume that you don't know anything about the national office, and I will give you a little bit of an overview of how where this program fits within the larger scheme of the League. I began to work at the League of Women Voters in the year 2000, and they hired me as a Deputy Executive Director to do things that no one wants to do, you know, dealing with the budget, organizing the building, cleaning up the lights, many things like that, in order to make sure that the office ran on time and effectively. And you know, it's a challenge sometimes, but I kind of enjoy it. But then in 2001, they asked me to oversee the international programs because the lady that was running the programs had to leave or something like that. And I said, sure, why not? Once they gave me those programs and I began to work with the people on the ground, I just could not ever let it go anymore. So I tried to juggle all the different responsibilities, and also we worked most recently with Oxfam America that give us money to try to create forums and programs related to the importance of climate change. So that's how we are able to then negotiate different programs and put them together. And you know, they range from 6 months to about 2 years, sometimes 3 or 8 months later, that we were successful in our endeavors. So it's not something that you wake up one day and let's do this program and we have the funding in 4 weeks. It actually requires a constant looking at what is out there, who's giving what, and to begin to get some funding on the pipeline. The funders that come through us for the Global Democracy programs are the United Nations Agency for International Development, the State Department of the United States, something called the Open Leadership Center, that is an arm of the legislative branch of the US government. We have also the United Nations Foundation has given money to work on some of the issues that they care about. And also we worked most recently with Oxfam America that give us money to try to create forums and programs related to the importance of climate change. So that's how we are able to then negotiate different programs and put them together. And you know, they range from 6 months to about 2 years, sometimes. Consequently, since 1945, we have had permanent observers, League permanent observers at the United Nations. And I just want you to be aware of that. If some of the women I met yesterday may not be totally aware of that, but they're still there, they're still active, and they also organize wonderful programs for League members who may want to come to New York and visit the United Nations, and they create very nice programs for women from the leagues who want to come to New York. So that's basically the introduction I wanted to share with you, and then I would like to just go over my presentation to show you some of the things that we've done, of how I frame the work that I do. So in order to make sense of the demands and the many things out there that are interesting to do, I have framed the work that the League does internationally along those lines. And as you can see, are lines that really mirror the work that the League has done domestically. So what I'm trying to do by grouping the competencies like this is to be able to have a nice story to tell to the funders. If I talk about election and election processes, I go back to the history of the League in this country and be able to create not only a story to tell that is compelling for the funders, but also to say that we have the right to do this thing internationally because we've done it here at home. And so when I talk about women's leadership, I frame it within the context of how we work with women leadership, how we were the first women who fought for suffrage, and how we've moved now along the way where we are not only a women's organization, but an organization that appeals to all the voters and all the citizens. And so that's the way I have framed the way our work abroad. And it's very useful because then we have a good story to tell, but also we don't get distracted by many other demands of other people who thinks that we want to do things about, I don't know, something else, wasket weaving, or things that where I think we don't have the core competency to actually support our request for funding. So this has led us really into a very nice niche, and everyone knows that they can come to us and ask us to work on transparency and accountability. Anti-corruption is really the other word. And working in coalitions, how we, the League, now at least at the national office, at the national level, work on coalitions to achieve success. How we work sometimes with coalitions that are 100 or more people in order to achieve success on different issues. Because we cannot any longer afford to do it at the national level alone. And so what I'm trying to tell women in other countries is that they cannot continue to work individually, that they need somehow to put aside a little bit of their turf to come together and try to work on an issue that is important to all the organizations so that they will be able to achieve change. I have to say, between us, among us, that it's not a message that sells well. Everyone wants to keep trying to work along their own turf. And so all I can say, is that I will tell the message, but they will have to be the ones who adopt the message in order to do it. The League does not sanction leagues in other countries. They may be able to use the name of the League, but they are not associated with the national office. There are many reasons for that. It's hard to monitor their non-partisanship. Very complicated.
Say that again.
It's hard to monitor leagues in other countries, particularly the issue of non-partisanship.
Non-partisan.
Non-partisanship.
Not affiliated with a party.
Yeah. Non-political. Well, political but non-partisan. I'm mispronouncing the word, but so they may, and many have used the name of League of Women Voters of Kenya, or League of Women Voters of Zimbabwe, or League of Women Voters of St. Petersburg, Russia, but they are not associated with us, and they do not use the logo at all.
But is there something similar to our League?
Similar, but I like to call League-like organizations.
Yeah. Are there any in France?
No, France, but there
Germany, Italy, Spain?
No. We receive a lot of funding from the Open Leadership Center to host visitors here. And many leagues in California have hosted visitors. What they do is, usually these visitors are from former Russian republics, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, I said all the stands, as they call it, in an effort to try to model or to introduce these decision makers in this country nowadays to new ideas of doing things, new ideas of moving more towards a democratic regime. And so we bring them to the US for 10 days. Leagues who wish to participate organize an agenda. These groups come within themes, could be the rule of law, good governance, transparency, women's leadership, and other issues, social issues, health. And so we approach the leagues. We usually advertise widely for leagues to participate with us. And so they will organize a 10-day schedule, usually 32 hours of programming. And then we bring the guys here. They're hosted in the homes of league members. And then we take them around and introduce to whomever it is important to meet in your locality, in your community. Of some of the things we've done lately that will illustrate the things that I just discussed about the core competencies. This is an event that we had this February at the United Nations with the United Nations Observer. As you can see, we chose, the theme of the conference was eradicating poverty. That was the theme of the conference this year. And so we added empowering women politically to eradicate poverty. And so we had a standing room only. About 110 people came to our event at the United Nations, and we spoke about the importance of women being politically involved, how to navigate what to do in order to change laws or effect change in order to lessen or abate poverty. So this woman here, Rosalie Kish, is our new United Nations observer. She was appointed a year ago by President Elizabeth McNamara, and she's a very dynamic, and she's tweeting and she's doing all the modern social media that we need to do. So she tweets all the time about the meetings that she's attending at the United Nations. In terms of international conferences, I was invited to present a paper in Belgrade, Serbia. This all happens between January and what is it now, May. This is a conference of women in Serbia who, as you may know, are trying to lead the way for more transparent Serbia, because they are very concerned about the image that they have because of the war and the aggressiveness of some of the things that happened in the recent past. This is the Middle East, North Africa initiative. Then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Cuba, and then about a program that's coming up in September about the rule of law and women in Latin America. The State Department invited the League of Women Voters to be their partner this year to organize a series of preparatory meetings that will take the U.S. and its partner, Tunisia, to the meeting at the end in Tunisia of the G8 Minister meetings of Foreign Affairs in December. So what we, the League, will do for $700,000 this year, it's the biggest grant that I've ever received.
Wow.
I know, I can't believe it. I'm still pinching myself. Will be to prepare, to organize 5 meetings. The first meeting will be in Doha, Qatar. Second meeting will be in Casablanca, Morocco. Third meeting will be in Amman, Jordan, and the final meeting in Tunis, Tunisia. During this set of meetings, we will be developing a set of ideals, points that the civil society countries from these civil society organizations from these countries will present to the foreign ministers of the G8 countries, to see whether the G8 ministers who say that they want to help in the democratization of the Middle East will actually fund some of the initiatives that they're proposing to move the countries in the Middle East and North Africa into a more stable democratic transition. So we will be organizing these meetings, and for that they're giving us this amount of money, which will cover salaries, travel to those countries, the planning, the thinking of the themes that we're going to organize, and finally the final meeting in December. So I'm excited. I'm so happy when they invited me to the United Nations Women Organization and with the U.S. Embassy. At my room at the hotel faced Tahrir Square, so I was able to see all the tents and all the movements that they were having still at that time in June of last year. And you don't feel unsafe, and you feel safe. I mean, I felt safe. I don't know about you, but I felt safe. And people seem to go around their normal routines. They don't pay attention to the people on the square, not anymore. So, but still, if you read the news every day, you will see that problems continue to be mounting in terms of the forthcoming elections and for president in Egypt. This is a success story. In May of last year, I visited Tunisia. And with these women here, we created the League of Women Voters of Tunisia. Of course, in French it's different, and it has a different acronym. The acronym is ETA, LET, very cute logo. And what they're doing, they're really going the right way. They're working together, getting more women. They're working with women in Egypt and in other parts of the Middle East to try to bring consensus about the issues that they need to advocate for. And I think that this group really has a good chance of success. And they're now getting ready for the elections that are coming in October for president. And whether the question here in Tunisia is whether the Islamist party will succeed or whether there will be a more moderate government than just the more dramatic and conservative Islamist party. This is an exchange, U.S. Department of State. We brought 32 young women, all women. We tried to bring one man, but he refused to come. And so we did all these very young women, I think it was between 26 and 30 maybe, for 4 weeks to the US, leagues in Kansas, in Duluth, Minnesota, San Diego, Florida, Houston, McLean, Illinois, Montgomery County, Maryland, and I'm forgetting one or two, hosted these women for 4 weeks. 2 women per household. And they gave them the ability to be interns in offices of elected officials, of big decision makers. And they established contacts with these elected officials for 4 weeks, and then they went home. 8 of these women ran for office for the municipal level in October of last year, and 4 were elected. So I think that's success. Yeah. And this woman here is going to go a long way because she is really imprinting her personality and her ideas in the current government. I think I have high hopes and looking for her to be a complete success story. Organizations to be subcontractors with them, to advise them on the specific issues that they may not have expertise. And this is one of those contracts. As you can see, I'm wearing my same blouse. But this in Bangladesh, and what they want to do is try to get women more inserted into the political process. They want to make sure that the political parties pay attention to women in the political process, that there is open space for women to work within the parties to be able to eventually run for office. And so I had a round of, I don't know, maybe 60 meetings with different people. And then at the end, I wrote a report on what would be perhaps the best way to approach this issue. And I submitted the report, and I hope that they will implement my ideas, which I think were very good. This is Cuba. As you can sure you will recognize the Che here. This is the Revolution Square. This is where whenever you see something on television, lots of people with little flags, this is where they meet. And this is the University of La Habana, where the meeting that I was attending as presenter took place. And so I thought that was interesting to have that picture there. Cuba is a beautiful country. You see some progress. It's not dilapidated as some people may perceive it to be. It looks clean. It doesn't have a lot of graffiti. And so I think it's a good experience to go once to Cuba. So in 2010, I'm just going to go through very quickly just to illustrate some of the things. This is an invitation by the US government, US Embassy to Madagascar. How can you not say yes to go to Madagascar? So I jumped at the idea, even though it took me I don't know how many days to get there. But the idea was to work with very young women and men. This happened right after the coup in the country. And so these women and men are trying to create a youth movement to fight the coup and try to be more democratic. So we went through different exercises as to what they could do within a safe net, because it's a military government. And so they're still very strong. Their name is Liberty 32, because the original members were 32 members, and they're still going strong. At all levels. You can be a poll worker, you can be an observer of elections, you can do anything you want, but please get involved. This is our message here. Lately I've been getting around carrying my own banner so that I document that I was actually there. And this is Kay Maxwell. I don't know if you remember her. She was the president of the league. I invited her to join me to be a presenter in the conference. And also Sandra Caden from California, also traveled with me. And she's here somewhere. Just briefly, I don't want to. This is, as I mentioned earlier, we have brought many Russian visitors to the US. So I decided that we needed to take some league members back to Russia and visit some of the people that we had hosted here. And so I took this little group, all league members, to Russia. And we went to Moscow, St. Petersburg, and a small town of Kaluga. We had a great time, and I'm not sure that I will do it again. Lots of work to organize a tour, but they really gave us access to the Duma in Moscow. They gave us a gift. They made jokes about the hockey teams. We had very fortunate to have two private donors who are Armenian, who were concerned about the situation in Armenia, and the sister of one of the donors is a league member. So she pushed her brother and pushed her brother, and finally we got $150,000. And so we worked in Armenia for about a year and a half to try to work with women in coalition again. What they're doing here is exercise of how important it is to work together to achieve change. And this was the closing ceremony that ended with, we tell them how to speak on television. We tell them how to get the message across, how to be brief. And this was the final interview that we did for this group to close the program. I think it was in April of 2000 somewhere, I don't remember. But so that we did that too. This is the final piece. We worked with the State Department again to try to empower women in Kenya, Muslim women in Kenya, on transparency and accountability. There's a lot of corruption in Kenya. So the State Department and us think that women may have a chance to influence the corruption, and we have young women teaching other women how to fight and how to make sure that we hold the elected officials more accountable. So we were there for 2 years. Very interesting experience. And the last one, I think this is the last slide, is Women in the Americas. It's this theme that I've been developing about women in the Americas, and these are paths to political power. We brought a lot of women from Latin America, elected women, to discuss their barriers that they encounter. Is it money? Is it money for campaigns? What is the barriers that are preventing women from moving forward? As you can recognize here, this is Mary Wilson, who was the former president of the league, and Judy Duffy, who's a key person in the advocacy world within the league. And a fun conference I attended in Kiev at the invitation of the US government to work with women on issues related to elections. So the nature of the funding that we receive is that when the funding ends, so ends the program. And so there's really never amount allotted with money or time to be able to do the metrics that you talk about, unless it is on the league's dime. And so sometimes we do that with limited resources and try to figure out where they are in the spectrum of change, but it's really almost impossible to measure. Through Facebook is where I'm beginning to see more communication and be able to track some of the women that we dealt with in the past, and maybe some metrics can be developed along those lines now. But when we were totally dependent on letters or internet, that communication, especially with Africa, just did not materialize.
But why don't you teach them also to fundraise while you're there for 2 years?
Yes, I know. We do that. But then they have obstacles of accessing, for instance.
Exactly.
The only country that requires permission is Russia. because they control the entrance with the visa, entry visa. Other countries don't have visa entries or visa requirements, but Russia demands that you indicate the hotel where you're going to be and what is the reason that you're going to be in the country and in how many days, and exactly they give you the visa exactly for the amount of time that you say that you will be. If you don't leave that day, I don't know what happens. No one wants to try that. So Russia does require and tracks you more closely. But the other countries, I haven't had that experience. I mean, not negative experience whatsoever. I don't think the women we talk to are frightened, but I think that it's just maybe that concept is hard to grasp or even harder to implement. In some countries, access to public officials is almost impossible. So how to hold them accountable is harder. They like the concept, and I like to think that over time they will be able to lessen the rules at the moment. But they're not frightened. They're really, I mean, I have to say the women that we work with are really courageous and already ready for whatever fight. But how they implement that from the very nice concept that we present to them to the reality of their countries, it's hard.
Political participation, even in America, is there a lot of really confident women who are afraid of speaking in public.
Yes.
Is there anything in your program
Yes.
that helps women learn to be comfortable talking in public?
Yes, we teach how to speak. We teach about the, I did a program in Zambia where we had, I would say, 30 women running for parliament. And so the first exercise was, okay, come down, tell me you're in the podium, we'll tape you, we'll videotape you. So the women will come and say then 2 minutes, we were timing the message and timing and videotaping. So they will come and do their political speech and 2 minutes, cut. And they had not even begin to say their name. So they will go and they will all laugh, you know, and then, okay, so I said to them, and so they pleaded at the end of the day, please give me another chance, let me another chance. Okay, so I said, okay, tomorrow we'll do the same exercise, we'll tape you again for 2 minutes, but you have to be ready with your message. And so the following day, they all came very eager, very dressed up. You know, they wanted to be well in videotape because they saw the day before at the end of the training that they were actually looking. You know, you could not see their heads. You know, you could not see their picture in the video. They were reading the message like that and things like that. So they saw what they had done wrong. So the following day, they came back, very nicely looked, and you know, they came. And I was amazed. I have to tell you, I was amazed about the change from day 1 to day 2. And everyone was just fantastic. All it needed was a little bit of encouragement, some mild criticism about what had gone wrong the first day, and they internalized that change, went home, practiced their little speech, and the following day was fantastic.
Of speaking in public.
Yes.
Is there anything in your program
Yes.
that helps women learn to be comfortable talking in public?
Yes, we teach how to speak. We teach about the, I did a program in Zambia where we had, I would say, 30 women running for parliament. And so the first exercise was, okay, come down, tell me you're in the podium, we'll tape you, we'll videotape you. So the women will come and say then 2 minutes, we were timing the message and timing and videotaping. So they will come and do their political speech and 2 minutes, cut. And they had not even begin to say their name. So they will go and they will all laugh, you know, and then, okay, so I said to them, and so they pleaded at the end of the day, please give me another chance, let me another chance. Okay, so I said, okay, tomorrow we'll do the same exercise, we'll tape you again for 2 minutes, but you have to be ready with your message. And so the following day, they all came very eager, very dressed up. You know, they wanted to be well in videotape because they saw the day before at the end of the training that they were actually looking. You know, you could not see their heads. You know, you could not see their picture in the video. They were reading the message like that and things like that. So they saw what they had done wrong. So the following day, they came back, very nicely looked, and they came, and I was amazed. I have to tell you, I was amazed about the change from day 1 to day 2, and everyone was just fantastic. All it needed was a little bit of encouragement, some mild criticism about what had gone wrong the first day, and they internalized that change, went home, practiced their little speech, and the following day was awesome. Civil society is the term used internationally to refer to organizations like the League of Women Voters. We are actually civil society organization, also known as non-governmental organization. Well, I think social media has played a key role in the Arab Spring. I'm sure you've heard all about it, how they communicate effectively with cell phones and things. We are going to be testing the social media now with the Middle East project and see how they communicate better. The word on the street is that the Gulf countries communicate better by phone, texting. Other countries deal better with internet and Facebook. So we're going to try all that and see which works best. But we've never tried it consistently. Sometimes only through cell phones. But it has played a key role, not only on the Arab Spring, but many other rising in England, for instance, the things that are happening here with the different Occupy movement is really having an impact because of the immediacy of the message and how fast they can bring people together.
Does it make a big difference in terms of the media in the country, whether it's supportive or helps to get the word out?
I think it is. But in some cases, the media is not free.
Yeah.
And so it depends. And if you're free, sometimes you're penalized if you spread the message. Actually, the funds increased under Hillary Clinton's mandate. She also has been a perfect spokesperson for women in other countries to encourage them, empower them to be more forthcoming. I don't know if future administration will impact those funds. Also, the question of the debt ceiling and all those fights in Congress about how much money should be allocated for the different departments may have an impact on it. I don't know yet. We don't know yet. The big question is coming up whether there will be a continuing resolution at the end of June or July. I think is whether if they don't reach an agreement on the budget, they will have to agree on a continuing resolution. So we don't know how that will work. Well, it's not. Some of you may know Sarah Diffendorf, who is a member of the League of San Francisco, and also a former board member of the League of Women Voters of the United States. Sarah and I have worked together in many projects. We went together to Jamaica, then we went together to Armenia, and now I have solicited her help because one of the things that we're going to be doing in the Middle East is economic empowerment. And I don't think I have the expertise to talk or to lead a conversation on private-public partnerships. But her university does. So by entering into an agreement with Dominican University, with the School of Business and Leadership, they will be able to develop for us background papers, and also I might be able to take Sarah with me to, in this case it would be Amman, Jordan, to lead the discussions on this particular issue. So I approached them and I said, would you be interested in being our partner? I also approached American University, and I also approached the woman who is leading the CEDAW. Do you know who CEDAW is? I think first, in many societies, it's an alien concept. They don't understand what a grassroots advocacy is. They have never practiced it, they've never heard about it. So it is kind of an introduction to new terminology, new terms that they might be able to use, and we walk them through exercises, for them to try to grasp the concept first and then see how it may work in their communities. Remember, if I were to be with the League in 5 years, then perhaps I would try to secure more funding and more sustainable funding rather than from grant to grant. My salary is 50% paid by the league under my hat with the as deputy executive director, and 50% has to come from grants.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
okay.
But there's no money set aside to support the projects that you're involved in,
No.
on the league, and there's not much board support, national board support?
Well, I think there is board support, but I think that, you know, and I understand it, I think the emphasis will be to make the league more sustainable domestically, to continue to raise the visibility of the league domestically, through some of the core competencies that they do best, which is elections, you know, transparency, other voter protection issues, and I understand that. Mine is like my programs are exciting, interesting, but certainly not the core competency of the league.